program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. This morning we have personalities, we have perspectives. Hold on to your seat, folks. You're going to learn something about medicine. Before we start our program, Judith Kay is going to introduce our guest in just a second. What was it Bill Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage? Something to that effect. If you'll recall, the Lincoln Community Theater has been active for a number of years. Mrs. Gossett was one of the founders of that way back eons ago. COVID kind of took the place there, and things kind of fell apart for a while, but Lincoln Community Theater is back roaring. The 23rd and the 26th here, Lincoln Community Theater is going to put on one of the old favorites, Arsenic and Old Lace. It's a fun play. It was a fun movie. I recall Gary Grant and how his actions in that. Lincoln Community Theater, 23rd and the 26th, Arsenic and Old Lace. Tim Serby once again rises to the top just like good cream, and he's got a great cast. And remember that now. Now, of course, the venue has to change, and it'll be at Lincoln Community High School. That's a nice venue there. So, 23rd, 25th, Arsenic and Old Lace. Mrs. Busby, I pass the baton.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Which is a short stick?
Yes,
Okay.
I saw one once.
Yeah.
I was a twirler once.
Oh, you were a strutter?
I was the fat twirler.
The word's out on that.
At any rate, we have some very interesting guests, and I'm very interested in getting into their subject matter. Dr. and Mrs. Hauter.
Dr. and Dr. Hauter.
Well, yes, I should say it that way. Thank you. Excuse me, please, and thank you. They're going to talk with us about direct care, and I tell you, by this cheat sheet I was given, I can see that this is an answer. You know, I'd kind of sometimes, every few years, like to check in with a doctor, but it ain't very easy to do, you know? And this direct care is a whole new approach. I thank you ever so for coming out here and enlightening us. God knows we need it. So thank you, Dr. Hauter. Thank you, Dr. Hauter.
Thank you.
In which order did you put that? Which order did you put that?
That order.
Okay. Well, ladies first. I just wanted to make sure you understood that. Yeah.
Yes. Now, let's start with how in the world a plain patient person like Jim and Bill and me, would be able to get into a system like this.
Wait a minute, I have a question. What's so plain about Jim?
Huh?
What's so plain about Jim?
Well, he's very fancy.
Okay, all right. Well, now get back to your original question.
What do you think?
Well, we really like this model, and it's we can't take credit for starting it or even finding it. Several years ago, our son Ben was in medical school, and he came home and said, I'm going to do this direct primary care. And Marcia and I looked at each other and said, what's that?
Yeah.
And so he educated us, and we went to a couple of conferences before, we thought he was going to starve. And then we were educated about the system, which is really as simple as you contract directly with the doctor. There's no middleman. In our office, we don't have a receptionist. We don't have a nurse. You call, we answer the phone. We don't have a computer. And it really cuts out the middleman. It is very much fun for the doctors because we aren't as heavily watched and governed by insurance companies or hospital administrators. And it's kind of like the way my dad practiced years ago, and some of the docs that started Family Medical Center practiced, in that they still made house calls and you could talk to a doctor.
We really like this style. It's become a system that actually helps the doctor feel good about going to work. We're not overburdened with too many patients to see. And we don't have to worry about whether or not the insurance company is going to like the way we documented or that we did all of the check marks that were supposed to happen, which is very, very nice.
It lifts the burden of the minutia
Yes.
from you.
A lot of the people describe this as when you go to see your doctor, there seems to be that invisible third party. The insurance company is in the room with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we do not bill insurance, that's eliminated. When I see a patient in the office, it's just that patient and myself.
You and them against the world.
That's right.
Right. Well, now, what do you do, though, Doctor, in the event that hospitalization is called for? How do you get into that system?
Pretty easily, actually. Remember, nationwide, the trend is to use a hospitalist.
Yes.
Most primary care doctors don't have privileges anymore. So as I'm a family medicine doc, Dru's internal medicine, traditionally, those folks don't go to the hospital or follow their patients to the hospital anymore. So ours do not either. We call ahead, and Dru uses the word, what do you call it?
I grease the skids if you're going to the emergency room. So, and boy, you get a weird response nowadays. I call and say, hey, I'd like to give you a report on a patient I'm sending over, and they're, okay. And then they send me to somebody to talk to. Most of the time it's the doctor, and they are shocked that somebody will take the extra time to call and say, hey, look, this is why I think this patient needs to come in, and here's what I would do, or, what I think needs to be done, and I'll turn it over to you. Please call me when you're done. And, our service doesn't cover hospitalization, but it does cover the social contacts when you're in the hospital. We hear from our patients just about every day. So they give us an update on how they're doing, and then before they leave, they'll dial me up, hand the phone to the doc that's discharging them, and say, here, tell my doctor what you're doing. And the doctor is usually taken back a little bit, but loves it.
Yeah.
Can we get down to the nuts and bolts of dollars and cents?
Sure.
How do you charge? Well, you have to get paid. You probably want lunch just like the rest of us.
Right, yeah. Well, you want to take that?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay.
I'll add.
We, I believe her.
You just go ahead and interrupt him when you want to.
I like it's nice to have a backup doctor.
Yes, it is. So we charge a monthly fee, and that's kind of the basis of what is direct primary care. It is, some people refer to it as a retainer-based medicine. We charge $75 a month, and that includes all your doctor visits, whether you come every day, whether you come none in a month, or once a year, it's still $75 a month. And that gives you access to us. You have our cell phone, you can text, you can email. We do house calls. That includes...
That's remarkable.
It is
Yeah.
remarkable.
Finding a
That's
doctor
right.
in today's times to make a house call.
I
Now,
haven't
that's
even
unique.
heard that word in eons.
I know. Well, the other part that Dru always forgets is our pediatric population. So our kids are $30 a month. So
Yeah, I
so
forgot that.
if you're doing a family, then you think of a traditional, which is sometimes a little hard to find, but two adults and then two children, and that's kind of the summary of what we kind of base our family model on. And then we also, if you happen to have more children than that, then we, negotiate a fee with you to cover all the kids as well.
Well, I hate to sound critical, but I think you've got the horse before the cart or something, because it's been my personal experience that adults didn't need near the care that kids did. My kids, I had some active ones that needed a stitch now
That's right.
and again.
Absolutely, and you're right, it is. But we also want families to be part of this. The national, we base our prices on kind of looking at the national charges for direct primary care. So it is truly that kids, although yes, you might have them into the office a whole lot more than adults, they are still less. Certainly, well, babies are included in that, as well as when they have what I affectionately have always called snotty nose crud. So,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it, but your child's
That's the scientific name, though.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Also, if they do get cut, suturing is included. That's part of the $75. Or if you have a mole that needs to be removed, we don't care if it's cosmetic. We remove it. It doesn't have to be approved by the insurance. Kind of almost said improved. That's
So you cut
awesome.
out
That's a
you
sport.
cut out a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
You got it. It's just
Again,
face to face.
The person, we call them members. Some of our members affectionately call us that we belong to the Hauter Club. So I think that's kind of cool. We laugh about
Is there an
that.
initiation fee?
No,
No,
nor are there
just,
any procedures.
Yeah. There's no hazing or anything.
But they're very appreciative of being able to call us. Lots of times too, I've been very pleased to have some first-time moms. If you talk to any doctor that's had first-time moms, they tend to be a little more
Alarmist.
well, they do. Maybe you want to call them needy. I just say that they need more education, and so those phone calls are a little bit more frequent. But, they get directly to me, and it's very quick to answer their questions then. And so there's not a phone tree that I call it through, where you call and you may leave a message, and then somebody will listen to your message, and it may have to be passed through a couple of people before it gets to the doctor, and then then people will call you back, and then you might have some more questions. So it's very efficient.
Are you finding that the patient is beginning to feel closer to you and more relying on you?
They love
think-
us.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. We have a lot of people who really appreciate us and
Yeah.
thank us. And, Marcia's a hugger. She hugs at every patient. Her
That's
babies,
not all bad.
No, it's not all
No,
bad.
it's
Seriously.
not.
No,
Seriously.
it's good
Especially when you
medicine.
need a doctor.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
You want them to recognize you as a person with feelings.
That's right.
Well, see, that's the nice thing about this is we book our appointments for an hour. So
Oh,
when you
gracious.
come in, it's not like we're shoving you out the door because this was your appointment for your sore throat, and now you're having chest pain when you walk up the stairs and you have to make a new appointment. Now, we'll take care of that at the same time.
Chest
And-
pain allows 18 minutes, right?
There is some clause, I think, that Medicare allows, but we don't go by it.
That's right.
So it really gives us a chance to get to know you. In the old days when I was at Family Medical Center, my nurses would not schedule a fisherman and a hunter back to back because they knew I was going to talk a little bit off the subject, maybe.
They had your number, didn't
They
they?
did.
Just certainly not maybe.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's a given.
Absolutely.
Well, this allows me time
The
to
freedom.
check in on that, and you know what? It really gives you a chance to get to know your patients.
Yes.
The sacred thing about medicine is that doctor-patient relationship, and I'll credit Ben again. He found this style of practice, and it got me so fired up. I had been retired for 2 years, and I went back into practice.
Is that right?
Yeah, I pulled a Michael Jordan.
There
So-
you go.
Yeah. Well,
You
he
kind
was,
of are the short Michael Jordan, aren't you?
Yeah, very short. Yeah.
I want to emphasize something here, just briefly. We start out with Dr. Dru, and Dr. Dean, and now we have Dr. Ben, and we have Dr. Marcia, we have Dr. Ru. That's kind of a dynasty, and I say that with some awe. That's really unique. For the benefit of our listeners, Dr. Ben Hauter will be setting up a practice about which we're speaking this morning over in the city of Petersburg. And that's got to be an exciting thing. How is that coming along time-wise? Is he on schedule, sir?
I would say so. He is finalizing a structure location in Petersburg and starting all the paperwork to get licensed, and it's very exciting, but it's also very tedious,
It's cumbersome, but he will officially finish his residency training at Southern Illinois University in family medicine. So he will be finished a year from now. And in the interim, he'll be getting his license, so he'll be able to start doing some what we call moonlighting, and he will be accepting a few new patients to his DPC practice here within the next month or so.
Oh, you must be so proud.
We are really excited for him.
Well, rightfully so.
Rightly
yeah.
so.
Yeah,
You
very
bet.
excited. This has been a long journey for him, just like it was for us. And Dru and I compare notes frequently about the difference between, we sound like old people when we say this, but the difference between his training and our training.
Yeah, we started here in Lincoln in 1991 with Ed Ulrich and
Yes.
Gene Blom.
Gene Blom, and you know what? We thought they were the old doctors, right? They had that old we've become the old doctors
We're
now.
the old docs now.
Isn't that funny how that sneaks
Yeah,
up on you?
it does.
Holy Friday.
And at general practice, we had some, quote, characters in those days, too.
Yep.
Now,
This is true.
excuse me, Jude, I think I stepped on a line you were about to jump
Well,
with.
I wanted to know how you and how direct care and Social Security. You never would have guessed, but Bill and I are Social Security
Wow.
recipients. Isn't that the berries? How does that dovetail?
Well, we have a lot of
You have-
members that are on Social Security, and I think what they join us for is the ease of getting in, the quickness of getting a problem taken, and that personal relationship.
Yes.
We don't charge more for Social Security. The beautiful thing about that is it's kind of your backup insurance. So we draw blood at discounted rates, a
Wholesale.
wholesale, yeah. And we don't.
There you go.
We don't mark it up hardly at all, just enough to cover our drawing expenses. And for those people, that's still more, or might be more, than what they would have to pay if they go to the hospital. So we order tests wherever they're the best price for the patient. So if a Social Security Medicare is covered for a chest x-ray or a CAT scan or whatever, then we order it there. Otherwise, we have places that we've contracted with cash prices, so we can get an x-ray of anything for $50. We can get an MRI of, what is it now, $550. So
Now I started to talk big money, Jim.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know those
But-
MRIs.
That's right. But it's it's what I like to tell people is I can tell them at the time we're sitting down and discussing maybe a procedure that needs to be done or getting their fasting blood work done, I can tell them exactly how much money they're going to spend for it. And we do a choice. If they do have insurance that will cover the procedure, then we talk about, do you know how much that's going to cost at the hospital? Okay, maybe you'll get a bill 6 months, 8 months, a year later, and you finally find out what your insurance paid on that and how much out-of-pocket expense you're going to have. So sometimes we have to kind of guess which one is going to be a better situation for the patient. But we try really hard to discuss money up front with them, which is very different in the business of medicine. You know, just like when you come in and the plumber or your car repair or whatever, they're able to give you an estimate of what they think things are going to cost and hopefully come very close to that. In medicine, in the previous years that I practiced, I've never been able to tell a patient.
We don't even know
No.
what it's going to cost, you know?
Yeah, we don't know. And so
That's a funny way of doing business, really.
It really is.
it's
If
a
you'll
bad-
excuse me.
It's a bad way to do business.
Yeah.
And so with DPC, that's kind of where my heart is. That's, yes, it brought me back to that relationship with my patients. And Dru's right, I am a hugger. I've always been a hugger. But
Thank goodness.
but the fact that
For
when
me.
when I have a conversation with someone and I can say, okay, give me a minute, I'm going to look on my computer and I'll tell you exactly what that's going to cost so that we know as you're leaving the office where your money's going to go and whether or not that's something you want to have done today or if maybe we have to schedule it a couple of months down the road, depending on what your money situation is. We do encourage our patients always to have catastrophic insurance, though, because we know that a significant illness can cause them, financial ruin, bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So
I
we
should-
never like to encourage people not to have insurance. We're very emphatic about that.
What's your guess? I think 70% of our patients have another insurance, and usually with a very high deductible.
Yes.
And our goal is to never have them reach their deductible, and so we save money that way. But maybe 25 or 30% have no insurance, and
Right.
that's what attracted them to us, because our costs are fairly fixed in that, when you walk out, you know exactly how much this blood test is going to cost, or if you need a chest x-ray, we know how much that's going to cost, and it's easier to budget.
That's
It's
true.
kind of closer to traditional business. I mean, if you want this kind of hand lotion, it's $1.98. If you want this kind, it's $15.98.
That's
Exactly.
right.
Now,
That's exactly
X-rays,
right.
doctors, you have. That's a service that has to be farmed out, I suspect.
That's
Right.
right, yes.
Yeah.
We have a place in Bloomington that we send people to, and a place in Springfield.
Yes. Now, what about this matter of let's say a guy wakes up in the morning, he doesn't feel good. Out there, something nefarious out there. They just pick a phone, call you, and say, "I need to come in."
Yes. What do you think? 80% of the time we can take care of most problems over the phone.
Over the telephone.
Yeah.
We do video, but most of the time we get sent pictures. Hey, I got this rash, and within seconds we can see it. If we need to do something, usually we get people in same day, next day.
Yeah.
Lab work, how's that handled, sir?
Well, depends on what you want. And again, we look at our Medicare recipients. For them, usually if they have Medicare and a supplement, it's cheaper for them to go to the hospital to get their blood drawn. So we order it and send the order with them and over to their hospital of choice or their clinic of choice to get their blood drawn, and then we get the results. If those people that are members of ours that have a high deductible, then they come to the office, and I have to admit, Dru's my phlebotomist. He's very good on a good day.
Now she jinxed me.
And we have a wholesale lab that gives us specific prices. And usually, like I said, I can tell you exact prices for things, but what most like yearly or twice a year labs that we want to do for a fasting process will cost the patient under $50 for their whole panels that they want. And that includes like a red blood cell count, white blood cell count, kidney function, liver function, fasting cholesterol panel,
Glucose.
and a thyroid TSH screening. And we can get all of that for usually about $38 to $40.
Holy Friday.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting. Your son Ben was in medical school, and he happened onto this form of practice.
That's right.
In medical school. That's kind of interesting. And so somewhere at some point in time, an individual started this whole process.
That's correct. Absolutely.
That's out of the box thinking at that whenever it was
Yeah.
started.
I would say the first practices were about 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Several people have been given credit for it. And I think the heart of it is around Kansas City. They have a lot of practices there. There is a website that you can go to find a DPC doctor near you, and it's called DPC Mapper. If you Google that, type in your zip code, it'll show you the clinics near you.
I'll be damned. You know what? Once again, it shows the old man that, things are getting mixed up here. I forget things once in a while, a lot. And once again, I have forgotten that we have sponsors. So we're going to have to pay obeisance to them. Go right ahead, James. Welcome back to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. We have some really super guests this morning. I add that because they're just nice people besides being damn good doctors. Dr. Marcia and Dr. Dru Hauter, we appreciate you coming up this morning and talking to us about direct medical practice, direct care. That's a phenomenon that you don't understand about. And so Judy Busby and I thought it'd be great to have the Drs. Hauter come up and tell us about their practice called direct care. Doctor, as this started, did it grow pretty fast, your patient load?
Yeah, I started November 1st, 2019, right before COVID. And Marcia then joined me July of 20. And typically a full practice for one doc is 650 patients.
Holy Friday.
Yeah, comparing that to when I was at Family Medical Center, both of us had over 2,000 patients.
Oh, my.
So it's a lot more individual.
Direct.
They usually say you're full within 2 years. I came out of retirement, so I didn't really want to work 5 days a week. So we shortened up our total patient population to less than a full practice for both of us. And that's where we are.
But you
filled
can
up.
make that call because
yes.
of your style of practice.
That's right. We decided together kind of the magic number that we thought we would like. And our goal together that we set was 400 patients for total for the two of us. We knew that was not going to be a full practice, but we also knew that we're no longer raising kids. Our kids are married and they pay their own bills. I'm not paying for college. I'm not paying for travel sports. And so we're at the stage where we are in our life. Our budget is completely different than when the kids were little.
How about utilization?
What do you mean?
Would people be more apt to come more often since it's already paid for?
We hope so.
Yeah.
And, it's easier for us, and it's also better for you. So you wake up in the morning, and this has happened several times. I'm starting with a cold, and this is my annual sinus infection. And if you've already paid for it, you're like, gosh, I'm going to call the doctor. Let's get a jump on this. Otherwise, you're going to wait because it may be a hassle to get to the doctor, and it may cost you a lot more, so you may try to wait it out 5-6 days. So we actually encourage, don't wait. Call us when you need us.
Right. The other side of that, too, is maybe it's just a virus. And so the easy part of that is you can check in with me daily to give me symptoms, and then we can decide whether or not you need an antibiotic. So there might be, continuing conversation over the next couple of days about your symptoms. And I'm perfectly fine with that. So you're right. There is more frequent use, maybe, over a short period of time. And if someone comes in and they really aren't feeling well, I encourage them to communicate with me the very next day. Give me an update. Call me. Text me. Let me know how you're doing. Then we'll make a decision about, do we need to have a long conversation? Do you need to come back into the office again? And again, that's not another charge because...
Do we need to listen to your lungs?
Yeah.
That type of thing.
So it's really nice. So you're right. Maybe you think about utilization, but I see that as a service to my people so that I get them healthier. I want my patients to be healthy. I'm the one that's always talking about, let's get you healthier. And we kid about this, but this is really what I tell people. If you can't make some lifestyle changes and get healthier, Dru's going to give you another pill. There you go. And they laugh at us, but it seems to be very true.
Is it possible, doctors, that direct care would uncover some latent hypochondriacs?
I suppose it's possible.
There are people out there who are hypochondriacs.
That is true.
Right.
And
So how do you treat a hypochondriac?
APC and Markham duty.
Actually, more time spent decreases their affliction. So it's actually good for hypochondriacs in that I have time to see them rather than just giving them something to push them off.
Some people, when they get to be our age, are lonesome. And they have time to dwell on the fact that, I think my hand hurts. By golly, it does hurt.
Yes.
And so then they think they need you.
That's a possibility. You're right.
And we see some of that.
We do.
We joke that a lot of our members head to the elevator and drink coffee, and that may run out around 9 o'clock, and then they come see us. And I always told her, I said, thank gosh we don't have a coffee pot here.
Yeah.
We'd be busy all day.
That's right. So sometimes it is a social event to come and see us and have things looked at and reassured. We're okay with that.
I'd pay an extra $10 just to get a hug.
There you go.
648-5510. The old fellow, once again, getting forgetful. I'm showing my age. 648-5510. Our guests this morning, Dr. Marcia and Dr. Dru Hauter. We're talking about direct medical care, a new type of practice here in Lincoln-Logan County, something unusual. Instead of calling on Dr. Carl Becker and have him come running over with his little bag of pills, Dru or Dr. Marcia Hauter will take care of you directly. I find it's kind of interesting that there again, with medical fabric, Dr. Ben Hauter is going to set up the same type of practice, their son, over in Petersburg. And he's the one that passed this information on to his daddy and his mother about this type of practice. And I find that interesting. Picked it up while he was in medical school. And that's
he got so into it that he found a society called the Benjamin Rush Society. And Benjamin Rush, which,
I know
thank
that
goodness,
name.
he educated me. He was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and he was a medical doctor.
Yep.
And if you look at your copy of the Declaration, you can see his name, not as big as John Hancock, but it's on there. And he was a proponent and advocate of the patient-physician relationship. And the Benjamin Rush Society was something to promote that. And he became president of the Illinois Benjamin Rush Society, and
For medical students.
Yep. And opened up a lot of doors for him to get to meet people who were movers and shakers in this organization. And one day he calls me and said, hey, I know you're retired, but at that time I was doing a little extra work at ISU, and he said, one of the doctors that talked works over in Leroy, and she is very, very busy, and maybe you could work with her. I thought, well, that might be something a little different. I don't really understand that. So I called her up, and after meeting with us, she said, why do you want to work for me? You need to open up your own practice with your family, and it'll work. I was like, well, I don't know. Well, the next thing you know, she gave us some of her equipment, and we had our office.
And you're
opened.
off and running.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
She continues to be someone that we use as our backup when we go on vacation. That's one of the things that members want to know. They want us to have a good relationship. They want Dru and I to stay married. They want us to have, time together, to be on vacation together. And so they just need to know, what happens when we go on vacation. So the process that we use is we notify them when we're going to go on vacation. They get an official notice of the exact dates when we're going to be out of the office, and we reassure them that the other physician is available. They will continue to contact us while we're on vacation. So we take our cell phones with us, just like everybody else does, Most people take them to the restroom with them.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Ours does go on vacation with us.
Well,
so
why are you looking at me when you say that?
So when
No, really, please.
if you have an emergency while I'm on vacation, I still want you to contact me, and we will then decide if it's something we can handle over the phone, or if you truly do need to see a physician to, suture or something like that, then we do have backup. So yeah.
648-5510. I noticed a word that's been interchange. Doctors have used the word members as opposed to patients.
Yes.
And that's kind of an interesting little juxtaposition there. But it shows the thrust of what you're about with your medical practice and direct care.
Yes, that truly is more the nomenclature that DPC uses. It's a member. So, like I said earlier, some of our members have chosen to call us the Hauter Club, and we think
You
that
serve
like
drinks
Sam's
at 5
Club.
o'clock?
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Judith. I'm sorry.
No.
I don't want to step on your line. You might need emergency care.
Yeah, you never know. What's the patient response been for you since you began this practice?
I would say very positive. We were hoping for 400 patients. We're at 470 now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
You got more than you wished for.
Yeah,
did.
and so it's been great, and it is amazing how much thank yous we get. People are very respectful of our time. I would say since we started, I've had 4 calls after 10 p.m.
That's not many at all.
Well, 2 of them were my family, so,
So you've had a couple of calls.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Yeah. So, in effect then, if at 10:30 at night and I'm feeling bad, you're going to see real bad before you call a doctor at that time of the night. But that would be in the cards to do, call you at...
Absolutely. We had a patient call us, I'm going to say it was around midnight, and was pretty short of breath. And, evaluating over the phone, I said, this is an emergency and you need to go to the emergency room. And that's important. Sometimes we can adjust. We can adjust medications, especially with diabetics. They may be having a problem that they call me and I can adjust their insulin or something that way.
Yeah, it's not real often. I mean, we certainly do education to our patients to reassure them, what to do in an emergency, how to handle things. But yes, it's not unheard of for docs to really get a phone call.
Some wise man one time said, it's not the severity, but the proximity that makes the problem acute.
That's true.
And it is true. It really is. So if you get a panicky person in the middle of the night, probably an old person,
Why did you hit me on the
Like-
shoulder?
like ourselves here, and they're scared.
Yes.
Can you admit them to the hospital just to quiet them?
Not in today's world. It's... I guess I would say it's hard to get into the hospital.
You gotta be certified, huh?
Yeah, almost. And, we would turn that care over to a hospitalist. Most of the time, the hospitalists aren't going to take a direct admit. We do have consultants that work for us that will do a direct admit. So let's say somebody falls and breaks an arm. I can call and they might get admitted to an orthopedic surgeon without having to go through an emergency room. But most of the time in today's world, you enter the hospital through the emergency room. It's kind of sad.
Oh, okay.
Is the direct care practice now taking the word patient with new members?
We still are.
You'll have a cutoff point at some point in time.
Yes, that's what we've talked about. We're at this point trying to see kind of what post-COVID looks like, because if you look at the dates of when we started, we actually opened our membership, our practice, just prior to COVID, and then we've been in business pretty much during the heat of that. So
And COVID was very busy.
it's very busy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now
So
that
lots of...
lots of phone calls, lots of close contact with people to make sure that they're doing well.
All of our COVID patients contacted us daily, and that was our request. We want to know how you're doing tomorrow. And we kept most of them out of the hospital, thank goodness.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Oofta.
So now that we're looking at that, we talked about doing a waiting list. Our backup doctor in Leroy has 600 plus patients, and she has a waiting list that's been in effect for a number of years now. That's well over 200 people.
Oofta.
So
That's amazing.
You know, what we know as physicians is that some of our members are going to go to heaven. They're going to pass away, and so there'll be an open slot for that, for another member, another family to come in. Some of our families or members may have to leave our community for a job or for whatever reasons that they need, and so there'll be openings. So I never say that we're completely closed or full, but we have started our waiting list for folks, and as soon as I say that, then we've had people contact us that they're moving, and so there's an open slot. So we're not closed. We're certainly open for business.
Now,
as you
if
said.
somebody wanted to drop in and ask questions personally, where would they? Your offices are located on North Kickapoo, so I'll let you explain where your offices are.
Right, we are at 1411 North Kickapoo. It's the old racquetball building if you are from around Lincoln. Mm-hmm. And what we like to do, if you're interested, is have you call us at the office, and we make an appointment where you get to sit down with both of us and ask your questions. We try to answer them, and there's no charge for that. And if you're interested to join and you think you can deal with our personalities, then we sign you up.
Yeah.
We have currently about 11 businesses that have enrolled their employees.
Really?
That's very interesting.
Good.
And
you.
it helps them get, we feel, good medical service. We do lacerations, that type of thing, as part of their fee. Mm-hmm. And they can then maybe get a higher deductible type of insurance and save money. So we do a special corporate rate if you have more than 5 employees that you bring.
Office number.
Go right ahead, doctor. Go right ahead.
Our office number is 217-632-6238.
Would you repeat that, Dr. Dru
6326.
Hauter, please?
217-632-6236.
It just changed.
Yes, it did.
Probably 50% of our listening audience, both of them, would write that number down to direct care is a very interesting prospect or subject matter here in Lincoln, Golden County. We're all used to the way it used to be. And nothing changes so fast as every day. When the clock makes a new day, you've got some new regulation or something, or some new disease. Or we've got an Anthony Fauci on the air that looks up everything for everybody. Can I say that and still keep my job, Jim? This is a very interesting program to me because it's explaining things that were questions in my own mind, and Judy and I talked about this, and we'd like to have our listeners know about direct medical care. And you've got the experts here with us this morning. Dr. Marcia or Dr. Dru, would you like to, either one of you or both of you, sum up our little visit this morning?
You can.
We're
Dru
passing
defers
the
to
baton.
the wordy one. I think mostly, Dru and I see this as a service to our community. We see this as an opportunity for the physician to have a genuine relationship with their doctors, which is the idealistic reason that people go into medicine, to help people. This is definitely a business model, and that's what the way we present it to our members. This is a business model. This is a different way of doing business, and we very much enjoy what we're doing.
And you've cut out a lot of what I call the bureaucracy of medicine. Because
Absolutely.
the hospital system, there's just a lot of bureaucracy involved in this thing. Things have to go down to Springfield to get approved and so forth. You can do those things directly, Dr. Dru.
That's right. Yep, it really has cut the middleman out. It is, medicine has a lot of doctors suffer burnout, and I was probably one of those. And this style of practice is reducing burnout among physicians because it's so much more fun and it's a close relationship. It's like seeing friends.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Marcia and Dr. Dru Hauter. Logan County products, by the way. Well, Marcia wasn't. She came off the course of Saybrook, Illinois, or somewhere. Where was home for you, my dear?
Quincy, Illinois.
Oh, but you're still in Illini.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a new type of medical practice, folks, direct care. Don't hesitate to call the Hauters for any information you need. They'd be very happy to give you any information you're looking for. We thank you very much, Dr. Hauter.
Thanks for having us,
James.
Very much appreciated.